Often, when we learn or read about polar explorers, we immediately think of people like Sir Ernest Shackleton or even Robert Falcon Scott. It was not until after I started working on expedition ships that I was introduced to the life and explorations of what has to be one of the most important figures of the heroic age of polar exploration, and that, of course, is Roald Amundsen. The Last Viking, the life of Roald Amundsen, unravels the life of the man who stands head and shoulders above all those who raced to map the last corners of the world. In 1900, the four great geographical mysteries, the Northwest Passage, the Northeast Passage, the South Pole, and the North Pole, remained blank spots on the globe. Within a short 20 years, Roald Amundsen would claim all four of the prizes. Renowned for his determination and his technical skills, both feared and beloved by his men, Amundsen is a legend of the heroic age of exploration, which shortly thereafter would be tamed by technology, commerce, and publicity. This book depicts the exploration of the North and South Poles by Amundsen, and it also tells the story of how he navigated the Northwest and Northeast passages. It's fascinating to learn about people like Amundsen, who have a singular goal and dedicate their entire life to reaching that goal. The beginning of the book describes a young Amundsen sleeping with his window open at night in the winter. And that was to start hardening himself for Arctic conditions and adventures built from there. He told his mum it was to get fresh air. I was impressed how Amundsen had spent years in the Arctic learning the survival techniques of the Inuit, which he then utilized during his expeditions, and that greatly contributed to the success of his ventures. There is an intense raw beauty to the bravery and boldness to the age of exploration, before the days of extreme risk management and aversion, when men and women willing to put everything on the line to pursue an objective relentlessly, regardless of the risk. Roald Amundsen, for me, embodied the very best traits of an adventurer: dreamer, pragmatic, dogged determination, perseverance, disciplined, humble, and a deep appreciation for learning from other cultures and the importance of group dynamics and cohesion for success. He was meticulous in his planning, and as author Brown points out, he was a hero in his mind, was not someone who suffered disaster after disaster, heroically pulling through with great endurance, but rather one who focused his intelligence and skills to avoid disaster, thus succeeding by good planning and crafty decision-making. That says it all about Amundsen. This book may induce severe cases of daydreaming about being a polar adventurer, at least it did for me. Although impossible to compare our luxury expeditions of today with those amazing feats of discovery, I could not help but dream of conducting expeditions on our ships to many of the places I read about in this book. The Northwest Passage was something I simply had to do ever since learning about Amundsen's fascinating exploration of the area. And although I've personally not yet reached the South Pole, I look forward to the day when we do so with one of our land expeditions. I love that this book transports you to another time and another place, letting us experience the dangers and difficulties and excitements of polar exploration. It also brings out a coherent image of Roald Amundsen, who has lived most of his life shrouded in controversy, and for very good reason. This really reads like an adventure book, while at the same time being highly educative about the life of an explorer. This is a very human portrait of an exceptional man who accomplished exceptional things and died in typical Amundsen fashion in the Arctic while on a mission to rescue the Italian explorer Nobile. If you have at least a little inkling to read about the explorers of old, I can't recommend this book by Stephen Brown highly enough.